Hey everyone, I'm Scott. As an advanced English speaker, you're probably not taking classes anymore because you don't need to. But maybe you're struggling when speaking to native English speakers or when reading the news. Follow along with me today. We're going to read an article about Vancouver and a property tax. It's an expensive city, but it's beautiful and a nice place to live. We'll look at vocabulary, understand the article in a deeper meaning, and I'll give you some assistance along the way. Think of it as a short, free English lesson. Let's get started. Vancouver needs a 9% annual property tax hike to balance the books. Let's look at property tax, a tax given to citizens based on the value of the land. So if you own a house, you will have to pay this tax, and the government or the local government will assess your land. Annual, you should know, is yearly. This is the yearly tax. Have you heard this phrase, to balance the books? We are making sure that we are not spending more than we earn. So we want to find the profit at the end of the year. Now, some companies and governments might spend too much money and they're not earning enough through revenue. So they need to balance the books to balance the profit. Let's get into the article. Okay, got an extra $116 lying around? Now, the article is starting with a question to grab your attention. And already it's got me. Look at me. Lying around. It is a phrasal verb to represent nearby. So, do you have an extra $116 nearby? And it's not in use, it's just laying around, it's nearby. A new report set to go before the Vancouver City Hall suggests that an average property tax increase of 9% annually would be needed to balance the budgets in the years ahead. In this case, to go before means to represent yourself in front of the Vancouver City Hall. So you will stand in front of the Vancouver City Hall. And set means scheduled. So the new report is scheduled to stand in front of or to be presented to the Vancouver City Hall. And we know, because of the title, that they want to increase the property tax of 9%, and they're doing this to balance the budget in the future. Let's look at the next sentence. And that would mean property owners would be forced to pay up. This phrasal verb means to pay a bill. Maybe you didn't pay your friend, and they will say, "Hey, Tom, pay up." This means to pay your bill or what you owe. Second paragraph. It comes after a shocking 10.7% average property hike for 2023, which was controversially approved by Vancouver City Council in late February, despite critics questioning their timing as many deal with inflation and the high cost of living. Let's break this apart. The adverb controversially is describing the verb approved. And to be controversial means to go against a public opinion. So it is against the norm, against the public opinion. The city council is like the board of government for the city. So when we have a transitional word in a sentence, we have to think, what is it doing to the sentence? Here, the transition word despite is saying not affected by, so in opposition. So they rose the property tax 10.7%, although many people had questioned this during the time of inflation. Let's talk about inflation. You have probably heard this word quite a lot. Inflation is the measurement of how expensive things are getting in comparison to the average salary. So over time, over many years, things become more and more expensive. The jug of milk may be $5 and next year it might be $6. That is inflation. So many people are questioning, why did they raise the property tax during a time of inflation? Things are already more expensive. This doesn't seem right. However, as residents struggle, those financial pressures appear to be hitting the city as well. Financial pressure can be a lot of things. Financial pressure can be inflation or job loss. In general, it just means that people are feeling stressed because of the financial situation. But this financial pressure appears to be hitting the city as well. What do you think it means when it's hitting the city? Financial pressures are affecting the city. So they are feeling the effects of the financial pressure. The 2024-2028 budget outlook examines the current revenue streams and found the outlook for operating revenue growth will be between 3% and 5%. The 2024-2028 budget outlook is a future prediction of the city's finances. They examine the current revenue streams. You might know the word stream as in a lake or a river. Here it's similar. When we talk about revenue streams, we're talking about where does the revenue come from? Does it come from uh, exports? Does it come from domestic development? So these are the different streams of revenue. So, on a positive note, they found that the different areas of revenue will be between 3 and 5%. So, it will grow over the next few years. While this is optimistic, it is not all roses. Vancouver has seen a decrease in its revenue streams in several key areas, including parking. It's interesting. Optimistic is the opposite of pessimistic. An optimist is always looking on the bright side, the positive. Now we have the next part that says, it's not all roses. When we say something is all roses, we mean that everything's good, it's sunshine and roses, it's beautiful. Saying it's not all roses means it's not all perfect. So Vancouver has seen a decrease in their areas of revenue in several key areas, including parking. The report says behavioral changes from the pandemic have led to fewer dollars in the city's coffers. Now, the key vocabulary you need to know here is coffers. Coffers is like a chest, think of a treasure chest, where you hold your valuables. So the behavioral changes in the people have led to less money for the city. You might have seen this in your own city during the pandemic time. People started spending less money on food and beverage, less money on shopping, and these extra luxuries that we don't need. That affects the city's economy. We have a quote here. These financial challenges have exceeded the city's ongoing measures to reduce costs, resulting in higher than historical tax increases. To balance the budget over the outlook period at the current state service levels without furthering action, an average property tax increase of about 9% each year would be needed, which equates to an additional 116 per year for a medium strata property. These financial challenges have exceeded. Exceeded is like surpassed or gone past. So the financial pressure is past the ongoing measures to reduce the cost. The city can't do anything more to reduce the cost. This results in higher tax increases, higher than historical tax increases. So we've never seen this in history before. It is reaching a maximum. Let's break this up. Now, the next sentence is just saying, in order to balance the budget, they need to increase the property tax of about 9%, which equals an additional 116 for the medium strata property. Median is the middle range of information. So it's not the average, because the average is when we add all the numbers together and divide by the amount. Median is when we have all the numbers and we just look at the middle. So it's like the middle number. Strata property is a type of property that is common in Vancouver. It is owned by the strata, so you pay your certain taxes. Many apartments and condos have a strata property. They continue to talk about what the additional amount would be for other people. So it might be 198 for overall residents not living in apartments, or it might be 304 for median single family homes. So single family homes is just a standalone home, or $511 for commercial property owners. So we have different levels. This reflects only the city's proportion of tax bill and does not include increases from other tax authorities. So this $116 is only the tax by the city, the property tax. Taxes for new developments are estimated to increase by $5 million annually, representing less than 1% of our property tax. Here, the article is just comparing to other increases in taxing. So they're saying our 9% is only one section of your taxes. You can expect the taxes to go up in other areas. The following paragraph is addressing problems in Vancouver City, which is a lack of housing and a lack of affordable housing and amenities. So it says the expenditures or expenses for the next 5 years are predicted at 730 million per year. And this level of project delivery is a significant increase from past levels and is required to meet asset renewal requirements, providing new amenities in response to population growth, and address city goals such as the Climate Emergency Action Plan. So these expenses are going towards new amenities. Amenities are the desirable features of a building, such as a pool or a basketball court. And it's in response to the population growth and the Climate Emergency Action Plan. So these are two things that developers, people that build the buildings, must address when making more. Plus, Vancouver has to foot the bill for some expensive infrastructure and public amenities renewals in the coming year. Foot the bill is a great idiom. This means that they have to pay for the bill. If you go to the restaurant with your friends and you say, you have to foot the bill, that means your friend will have to take care of the cost. So the city of Vancouver is paying for things like infrastructure and public amenity renewals. So infrastructure are buildings, essentially. It can be buildings, trains, things that are used by the city. Utility fees are estimated to increase by approximately 10% annually on average for the next 5 years, based on Metro Vancouver's regional utility charge forecast and the increased pace to replace and maintain the city's infrastructure assets, the report reads. Utility fees are your additional fees like electricity and water. Those will increase by about 10% on average for the next 5 years. They have forecast these charges, which means they have looked into the future. Costs are there to replace and maintain the infrastructure. So it seems that all the separate governments in Vancouver are increasing their taxes in order to pay for the necessary amenities. In the short term, the report suggests continuing to increase the cost of monthly parking permits for residents, expanding paid parking locations, and making food trucks pay even more money to park on the city street. This paragraph is addressing how they will solve the issue of the increase of cost. So they will ask people to pay more for parking. They will try to expand more parking locations so the city can gain more revenue. And they will make food trucks pay more when they put their truck on the street to sell food. The report also states that spending will increase to deliver on Mayor Kem Sim's promise of hiring more police officers. So they will also use some of that spending into hiring other police officers. A special budget task force has been created to examine the costs. Budget task force. That's cool. These are the employees that take care of the budget. But it sounds cool, like a special force. They have been created to look at the cost. However, the Vancouver Police Department is not a part of that, nor will the Vancouver Park Board or the Vancouver Public Library, despite them accounting for a massive amount of the budget. This is an important final sentence to look at, that they're taking a look at all of the cost and where the money goes in the city, but they're not looking at a lot of the public services, like the police department, the park board, or the library. So actually, the increase of taxes falls upon the residents, the families, and the individuals that pay a property tax. They're not asking for a property tax from these big developments like the public library. So that's for you to understand if you think it's a good idea or not a good idea that the Vancouver board is going to increase the property tax of 9%. And keep in mind, this came after a property tax of 10% last year. So we're already looking at more and more money getting put into taxes. What are your thoughts on the property tax increase? If you're living in Vancouver or nearby, drop a message below. I'm curious on your thoughts. Thanks for sticking through to the end. Send a message if you want an article to be reviewed. I'm looking forward to it. See you in the next one.